Okay,
Yeah,
all
it's
right,
not working on.
Now I do.
I think we're ready then. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to this presentation today. As you know, we do these, the Misdemeanor Probation Training Council hosts these sessions. We try to shoot for every quarter so that misdemeanor probation officers have some opportunities for some free training and free hours toward recertification or advanced certification, depending on what you're looking for. So we hope that you find these useful. We always want your feedback on topics and things that you would like to see us present on or find presenters on. Keep in mind that our price range is between 0 and 0. So we look for
what?
Yeah, sorry, Ryan. So we look for people who are experts in the field and who can provide information on subjects that will be useful to you all. So always feel free to shoot those our way. Also today, you will receive an hour of post credit for today's presentation. So make sure you're signing a roster. And then you can send them to me at the end of the presentation. I'll collect them all, and then Ada County Sheriff's Office has graciously agreed to enter these for everyone. If you happen to be an agency that has your own access to enter your own post rosters, feel free to do that as well. But you might need the documentation that I have for to verify that it met standards for post training. Just let me know if you need that, or just send me your rosters and we'll take care of it. I will introduce our speaker today. Ryan Porter is the Quality Assurance and Behavioral Health Manager here at the Idaho Supreme Court. And he does these kinds of trainings for lots of different groups. He's a clinician by trade. I don't even know if you can say that anymore, Ryan. You've worked here at the courts for so long. So
It's been a long time.
Yeah, but he's been doing wellness and resiliency, burnout presentations for lots of groups around the court system over the last couple of years, particularly starting during the COVID times when people were really having a lot of struggles with everything that was going on and the disconnects that we were all having as humans. And so it's kind of become his official responsibility in the court system to do these. So I asked him if he would prepare one for you all, specifically in misdemeanor probation. This is one of those types of presentations that you'll get more out of it if you participate more in it. It's less likely to be useful to you if you just sit back and listen. So hopefully everybody is willing to really tune in, participate. He might prompt you with some questions or surveys or something, and hopefully everyone is willing to engage in that way and make the best of this hour. So having said all of that, Carrie, did you want to add anything? Last chance.
No, I just appreciate everyone showing up today.
Carrie Anderson is the chair of the Misdemeanor Probation Training Council. If anyone didn't know that, she's also the administrator at Ada County Misdemeanor Probation. For most of you probably know her because she probably taught you somewhere along the line at the Post Academy or somewhere. But having said all of that, Ryan, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Carrie. Can you see the power presentation? Okay.
Yep.
Is it coming? Okay, good. I'm looking at multiple screens, so I don't know who's seeing what. Yeah, I'd super appreciate it if you'd turn your camera on. I don't really care if you're eating lunch or what you got going, and if you'd speak up if I've got a couple questions for you. I took out the breathing exercise, so I'm not going to ask you to do much. We're just going to talk a little bit about stress in the workplace, specific to what you all do, and some coping mechanisms for that. So I prefer to do these live and in person. It's much more connected that way. Not that Zoom isn't a good platform for it. It just leaves a little bit out. So anything we can do to kind of connect with each other a little bit and make this process smoother, that'd be great. So as Sandy said, this wasn't something I set out necessarily to do, but it was kind of a demand-driven thing. From COVID, a lot of people are just asking, like, hey, my group is struggling a little bit with how to take care of themselves and having these conversations. So I started kind of developing some curriculum for it, and then it just got requested more and more. I think I'm doing 3 or 4 of these at conferences just this year, which I had no intention of doing. Maybe if I did them poorly, people would stop requesting. I think, or maybe telling you not how to take care of yourself would help, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I hope that you get some things out of this today and can take some pieces away that'll be helpful for you in your workplace. So we're going to talk a little bit about resilience today, but also some compassion fatigue, self-care strategies, burnout, things like that, just to increase your knowledge level and understanding of the work that you do. So what I'd really like to kind of start talking about is stress and what stresses you out. So the first question I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask just a couple people to kind of let me know, what hats do you wear? And really what I'm after is what kind of things that you do, what kind of things do you do that aren't obvious? I think everyone thinks probation officers just supervise offenders, but my sense is, not my sense, I actually kind of know, but you do lots of other things. So please jump in with a little bit of what other hats do you wear? What other things do you do in your job that are required that that are different than your day-to-day? I will pick on you too, so someone needs to jump in and tell me, what do you do?
Emotional support person
For whom?
for your client.
Yeah. Do you have to provide emotional support for your supervisor as well?
I don't know, I'm the supervisor.
Oh,
here.
you're the super. That's even better.
But yeah, but I mean, I believe that the staff, they provide emotional support for their people that come in
Yeah.
and they're upset and they're crying and they're carrying on and they just can't do this or can't manage this and can't manage their life. So I think they provide a lot of emotional support for their
Yeah.
clients and guide them and help them.
And do they have to?
Well, it's not a requirement in their job descriptions, but they do a lot of it.
They do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. What else? What else do you guys do?
Social worker, like finding resources, housing, and different things that are available to help those that don't have, the ability to, like, transportation or all of those different things.
Yeah, that's right. I appreciate it. There's a lot of, what we classically call case management, but case management, I think for you guys can take a whole nother level of arranging appointments and making connections and referrals for the folks you supervise. So I appreciate that. I know you wear other hats, so let's jump into this a little bit. One of the things that I read in this Fin article, it's a little bit older now, but I think it applies. The 3 most frequent things reported that cause stress for probation officer was high caseloads, excessive paperwork, and meeting deadlines. Any of that resonate? How are we doing on caseload size? I tend to hear more about the felony ones and not the misdemeanor ones, but are they average? Are they excessive? Are they low?
Well,
Does it vary district by district?
Bannock County is down 2 POs right now, and
Okay.
so ours are a little bit crazy, but we've actually, since COVID, haven't been able to get back up to where we were prior. I would say that we're probably sitting at like 100 to 150 of active, so that's not including, people that are out on warrants or have absconded or pending violations. I know when I started in about 2011, we had about 300 active at that time per caseload, but it's still, because we're down 2 POs, it feels like it's a lot worse than that.
Okay. So around 100, 150, is that similar to what everyone else is experiencing? Less or more?
I would say 150 to 200 plus. That doesn't include your probation violation cases
Yeah.
and things like that. So Yeah, it's quite a bit for one person.
Anybody else? Anybody over 300? Anybody under 50? You wouldn't tell me if you did, that the secret would be out. Yeah, I know caseloads can be really stressful, the amount of paperwork that goes along with those, and then meeting those deadlines. I thought what was really interesting, I pulled a quote out of this report. It said, most officers feel that their agency, not the job or offenders, is responsible for their stress. Not to pick on any supervisors here, but a lot of the reports is the caseload isn't what stresses me out. It's the place I work. It's the people I work with and the demands of that agency. And I don't think necessarily that has to do with the people, but just the organizational stress that is required to be a PO is large. You know all these, but other stressors like inadequate supervision. And it's not that your supervisor doesn't want to do a good job, but they might have a caseload as well, and they're pulled in 5 different directions, and you don't get the supervision that you need. Lack of promotional opportunities, salaries, that shouldn't be a problem. I think everyone's paid super, super well in Idaho, so we should be good there. It's a joke. I'm kidding. I love you all. There is this always present danger of assault from offenders. That's part of your job. I know that's stressful and can be at times. And then the constant changing in policies, in SOPs, in procedural shifts, those kind of political things matter. And I think those things cause stress. The other big piece, and we're going to get into this a little bit, but there is some stress that's caused by the leniency on the part of the courts and judges, and the lack of resources in your community. I think that's one of the first things people just brought up was, yeah, I'd love to get these offenders connected, but connected to what? There's not a lot of resources for me to choose from, especially in some of our rural areas, and it makes my job difficult. The one I hear about all the time, and it's at the end of the slide, is treatment. Drug and alcohol treatment or mental health treatment can be hard to access. Not only just the brick and mortars and the lack of counselors, but the money that will pay for it as well. Anybody want to add any stressors? Anything I missed?
Ryan, you kind of touched on this, but once upon a time, I worked more directly in this field, and I remember frustration around with the courts saying, like, seriously, you're going to put this person back on probation again?
Yeah.
What do you think we're going to do differently this time?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's still a thing or if that's a thing all over the state. At one point in time, it was definitely an issue where, you feel like you've done all you can do for this person, whether they've hit the max of what they're willing to do or capable of doing, or you've kind of crossed everything off the list, but yet they're back in your life for the 3rd, 4th, 5th time. And that can be really, really stressful on the person supervising.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that here in a second. I realize I just spelled excessive wrong in this slide. I don't know if anyone else caught it, but that perception of leniency or changing an order that doesn't seem consistent with your recommendation is a big part of resilience. And so we're going to make that tie together here in just a sec, Sandy. I did read another study from the state of Illinois. Happy to share this with you, but they did a good job of surveying their probation officer population in that state and came up with 3 major stressors. And I thought what was interesting about this is they weren't actually things. They were actually kind of more philosophical about the tension that lies between things. And we just kind of talked about this, but this idea of being accountable to the court and the public is part of your role in the functions of monitoring and enforcement. That is your role, but also the responsibility of working with your offender, the idea of a helping function, and the tension between that, right? It's not always congruent that what the court wants versus what the public wants versus what your client needs. Those don't always match up, and then you're the one that has to have a little discretion in there of how you're going to handle that. The other large stressor that came out of this study was the integrity of your role and the incongruence between what your personal values are and what your job demands. Those don't always line up and can be inconsistent and cause stress for you. I think this offender should do that, but the orders of supervision say this, and that incongruence can cause stress. Obviously, we're in the legislative time. We've got some politics. We're going to see some new statutory language every year that changes your role in some way, and can trickle down to make your job a little bit difficult. And then we talked about this in the last slide, but the idea of how much quality can I provide each of my offenders versus needing to attend to a large caseload, and trying to balance the difference between that can cause stress. Make sense? All right, so let's talk about how do we manage? How do we cope? How do we figure it out? And that largely comes through resilience. And I put the definition up here just so we can kind of be working off the same framework. The capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulty. And I want to stress the or in that, because just being tough in and of itself isn't what resilience is about. It's the ability to recover quickly when things happen, and or the capacity to withstand it. And I think you guys all get this as part of your job, but as we kind of go through there, I want to have a working definition for us. The other definition that's listed that I think is applicable is the ability of a substance or an object to spring back into shape. So you get pushed so far. Are you able to rebound and go back to your status quo, your homeostasis? That idea of like a tennis ball or a slinky, can you remain into your original shape once you're pulled in a different direction? That's the idea of resilience. And another definition here for you. Resilience is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or changing life experiences. When I read that in the context of what probation officers do, that is your job. You're always rebounding from challenging life experiences. Every case you have has uniquenesses to it. And then it goes on to say, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustments. And I like the end of this, to external and internal demands, meaning your job has demands on you and requirements, but you also have a personal standard of how you want to do your job, and how you want to complete the tasks that you need to do to make your offenders successful. So there are demands from different levels that factor into your ability to be resilient. So I want to pick apart these 3 bullet points here. This came from some work from the APA. A number of factors contribute to how well people adapt to adversity. And they lie in these 3 spaces. The ways in which individuals view and engage in the world. And we're going to pull this apart a little bit. The availability and quality of your social resources, and then your actual specific coping skills. So keep those in mind as we go through here. One thing that we do know, though, is resilience can be practiced. It is a skill set. You can get better at it. It's not something like, well, I'm just better at it than you are. It doesn't work that way. You can actually work on this and get better at it. So let's look at these 3 factors when it comes to resilience. So one of the things that we know help with resilience is how you view and engage in the world. And it seems a little counterintuitive, like what does that have to do with it? Essentially what we're talking about here is your attitude and approach to the world, to your job, to your supervisor, to your organization matters. If you have a crappy outlook, you will be less resilient. Does that make sense? If you have a positive outlook, you're more likely to be able to survive in your role. So things like, this was unexpected, but I can work through it. I believe things will get better. This sense that you feel valued in your job is important. It actually matters to your ability to recover. On the flip side, if you know, my caseload is stacked against me, there's no way I'm going to survive from this. This is kind of what I deserve. My voice and opinion don't matter. And then the one I love, this stress I'm experiencing, if I ignore it, it'll go away. If that is your outlook, it's very, very difficult to recover and rebound from stress. I think what's really interesting about this is, and maybe this is true for you, you can kind of figure out where you fall in this, but I'm not on one side or the other of this. I know in my job, I have times where I'm feeling pretty good. And then other times I'm like, you know what? I can't do it. This sucks. I'm overwhelmed. So know that you are human and that you vacillate between them. The point and the emphasis I really want to make is what your outlook is, what your attitude is, actually impacts your ability to maintain and recover from adverse situations. So if we're trying to do that, how do we accept other perspectives? I think we kind of know there's some commonalities here, but I think it's important to revisit. You're wired to fill gaps with biases. I think what's really important here, and I know the 20 years I worked as a therapist, a client came in, I'd already seen their assessment. I already know what they were addicted to, what their criminal history looked like, their socioeconomic status. I took all those in, and you automatically say to yourself, I know this client. I know what I'm getting here. That's important. We have to remember that we will fill gaps with biases. We do it, it's okay. But check yourself. Make sure you're aware of what those biases are. And then realize it's okay to change your mind. You can have a difference of opinion later. Acknowledge that others may be right. I know this is hard. Your offenders actually sometimes are right. Your supervisors, sometimes they're right. And we have to adjust to that. That's part of being resilient. Both sides have an argument. And then can we, especially when we're working with our offenders, can we enhance our listening skills? Can we spend more time hearing what they have to say rather than telling them what to do? Focus on the facts. You guys know that in the accountability business, that facts matter, and that that there might be things that you have more in common than different. The second piece to this resilience game is understanding your social resources, and the availability and quality of them matters. So I want to take a little bit of time really for you to look at this list and make some sense out of who are these people for me. So I'm not going to ask you to say it out loud, but I want you to look here and see, are these people part of my social network? Obviously friends. So there's a list of those, right? Those ones that are current in your life, childhood ones, online presence. Obviously you spend a ton of time with your coworkers, your colleagues, other divisions, other POs. Those are important. We have daily acquaintances. I was given this presentation one time and somebody kind of laughed and was like, what does that have to do with it? And I'll tell you, the gal that serves me coffee every morning is important to me. I know her name, she knows mine, and it's refreshing. When I show up in the morning, it's nice to be acknowledged. Obviously, your family matters, in-laws, both sides, spouses, extended family, a therapist or a counselor. I just mentioned a little bit, but do you have a neutral, objective place to vent, to let out some of your stuff? I don't know why in this country we're so controversial about seeing a counselor, but you don't always have to go when you have a problem. You can go just to talk and share. I think it's really important. Some of us are involved in some kind of fellowship, whether that's Sunday school or worship or study, Bible studies or practice, whatever that looks like for you. But that's part of your social network. And then clubs, and then my favorite are pets. I think pets matter here as part of your social network. I know some of you won't admit it, but you probably talk to your pets more than you do other humans because they just provide us some unconditional support. And then the last thing I want to emphasize in this slide that's really important is there is a difference on this list between who of these folks are available and the ones that aren't, and the quality of those relationships, right? And so sometimes they might be really, really good friends, but they don't live here. They're not here anymore. I don't talk to them very often. And then I've got an uncle that's available, but he's kind of a jerk. The quality of that relationship isn't that great, right? So he is a family member. He is available anytime I need him or need anything from him, but he's just not a great guy. The quality isn't high. So look at this list and kind of think to yourself, who is actually available and of quality, because they might not be the same. And then how can we make the most of these folks, right? I think it's important to take some time. Maybe this could be a New Year's resolution for you, but schedule some time with your friends. Try to put in some effort. Practice some forgiveness if you need to shore up some old ties. Don't fear vulnerability. Can you appreciate the quality of your relationships and let people know that? I think that's how we foster better relationships in that network. We talked a little bit about being a good listener, but also check your ego. Relationships can be difficult, but I think it's a good reminder to try to be the best friend you possibly can, the best colleague, the best supervisor, whatever that looks like for you. Can we make the most of our social network? And then the third one on that list of evaluating the quality of your resilience really was practicing coping strategies. And one of the big things that pops up in the literature over and over and over is find purpose. Why is it that you do what you do? Why is it important for you to continue doing the job you do? I know you all got in it for the money, but at some point, that shifts to the quality of the work that you do. Make sense? And I think there is purpose in being a probation officer. I think there is value in that. That's both internally and externally motivated. There's obviously opportunities to practice coping strategies outside of your job as well that look like community involvement and participating in activities that are meaningful to you. I know that when I have smaller groups and I talk about this, they're like, oh, I used to do this all the time and I really loved it, but I just don't have time anymore. I just haven't gotten back to it. Make time. That's really important for your ability to cope with stress, to do the things that give you purpose, that make you feel like you add value to the world. Embrace change. I don't know of a business other than state government that I've been in the last 10 years that doesn't constantly change. It changes constantly, and I can either fight it and have a bad attitude about it, or I can embrace it and just realize, you know what, I'm not in control of this. Sometimes I need to just slow down and say, all right, it is what it is. I'm going to work through this. Can I learn anything from that? And is there any optimism in the changes being made? Obviously, you know this, but it's important to nurture yourself. When things are stressful, are you eating correctly? Are you exercising? Are you hydrating? Are you getting enough sleep? And then are you looking for opportunities to be creative and find healthy outlets? The other piece of it is it's, you know, it's not all roses. We do have challenges, right? And so can we work through those? Can we enhance our problem solving skills, establish some goals, whatever that looks like for you, if that's making a list, that's defining a problem, if that's organizing the info in a spreadsheet, if that's looking for resources that are valuable to you, those kind of things matter when we're trying to increase our coping strategies. Any questions? We good? All right, I'm gonna move through. Here's some stress relievers, ways to kind of tamper your stress a little bit. I just pulled an assortment of things that exist in the literature. One that's super important to me is music. I really, really enjoy it. I enjoy it recorded. I enjoy it live. I enjoy it on vinyl. I enjoy it in the car. I play guitar a little bit. That might not be your jam, but is there an opportunity for you to be creative through music? I also like it loud. There's something about a song that I like loud. It just hits different than when it's not loud, but you can evaluate that. I just think there's a value in music that helps relieve some stress.
We got pickleball in the chat.
Oh yeah. Great example. Being physically active and moving is perfect. I just brought it up, but it would be a little weird as a former therapist if I didn't advocate for people seeing somebody and just being cathartic, just venting, just puking some things out sometimes is really nice. I know all of us have people in our lives that we can do that to. I'll warn you a little bit, they get tired of it. You can be exhausting sometimes if you're always venting to the same person. So paying somebody to listen to you gripe all the time, I think is a great way to go. Connecting with others, right, through the idea of volunteering or looking for opportunities to work in your community. Meditation is really helpful. Mindfulness, deep breathing. When I do this course live, we do a little breathing exercise. It's simple. It's really easy to do. You don't really have to think about it. Just breathe. I really enjoy laughing. There's something about having a good time and smiling that just relieves some stress. Even if it's momentarily, it's nice to laugh a little bit. And we can do that through comedy, through a movie, through a friend that's funny. I think that's really the reason Sandy works with me is because I'm funny. I don't think I add any other value, but it works, right? So she keeps coming back every day.
You're sometimes funny.
Yeah, exactly. See, she's actually the jokester. I think one of the things that helps relieve stress that's not on the sort of the positive side, but it's important, is being assertive. Sometimes it's important to just say, no, I can't do it. Or I can, but it's going to take a little bit later. Or how about if somebody else works on it and then I can get back to it. But being assertive and not letting yourself lack boundaries and get overwhelmed is important. And the other big thing is writing. I mentioned kind of making lists, but sometimes there's a cathartic quality to just getting things down on paper. And whether you throw it away or you keep it, but expressing yourself or finding ways to express yourself are really important. Anything else besides pickleball? What else do people do to relieve stress? Any gardeners out there? Jennifer, what you got? It looks like you got something to say. And she's not going to do it.
Which Jennifer? I don't, me?
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
looking at you. You can't tell, I'm looking right at you.
No, I can't.
I'm kidding. What do you do to
No.
relieve stress?
Well, I have grandkids and stuff, so, and.
Is that a stress reliever or a stress inducer?
Well, it just depends on what we're doing. But my big thing is when I leave here done, I don't take stuff home with me, for one thing.
Yeah.
I've learned after 30 years doing this that when I'm done here, I am done.
Is there something that you could say consciously you do between when you leave and the time you get home? Is there a commute, and does something happen during that time?
No, I live about 3 minutes away, so it's not a real big commute.
Okay.
So I've just learned just my personality, I can shut things off.
Okay. So no answering emails or texts or phone calls after you
No, I'm
leave?
done.
Yeah.
I am done. I don't take stuff home with me. I am done.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really important. I know one time I was working in Seattle, and I got done, and I'd had a couple tough sessions that involved kind of some suicide ideation, and I got in the car. My wife picked me up from work, and I just started in on my day, and we got about a mile down the road, and she did a U-turn at the light and was headed back. I'm like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" She goes, "I'm taking you back to work." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Because you clearly haven't left yet. You need some more time." And I think that just made me madder, really, if I'm being honest. But I think it was a good reminder of leaving work at work is more important than just the concept of it. It actually impacts your relationships and the rest of your day as well. Yeah, thank you. Well said. Any other stress relievers? Anything else people do that are healthy? I assume nobody's going to say, "I drink a lot." Like that probably doesn't help. But what positive stress relievers do you have? Give me one more.
I love being in water, and so I have a hot tub.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Or taking a bath even, like it's
Okay.
just so nice.
And then those are things you have at home. Do you also like the beach, pools?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
when you go
Oh,
places?
yeah.
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 Yeah, there is something about being surrounded by water that can be calming. Good. Thank you.
In the chat, we have golf,
Golf is good.
BJJ, and travel, but I don't know what BJJ is. And then cooking and sitting in the sauna.
Yeah. Awesome. What is BJJ?
I do not know.
Dare I ask? Yeah.
Maybe someone will tell us.
Nobody on this call knows what that means?
Somebody put it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. All right,
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
thank you.
Yeah, very physical. I'm sure when you leave a session like that, like there's a lot of relief now that you're tied up in a pretzel.
Right.
Hey, a couple quotes here for you to work with. We all have battles to fight, and it's often in those battles that we are the most alive. I think there's really something to be said about that. It's on those front lines of our lives that we earn wisdom, we create joy, we forge friendship, we discover happiness, we find love, and we do purposeful work. And I know you guys appreciate this. I pulled it for that reason. You're in the trenches. It is a fight, but there's value in that. I think you learn, you grow, and you find meaning and purpose in your work. Anybody know who this guy is? Mr. Eric? Okay, I hope nobody's related to him because it'd be a little awkward. I love the quote. He used to be the governor of Missouri. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He was in the Navy SEALs. Pretty big deal. However, he resigned from that governor role. He was pulled up on accusations of sexual assault and campaign finance. So a little irony in the quote there, like, yeah, when you're battling, you do learn things about yourself, that's for sure. And that was true for him. The other one I liked was resilient isn't a single skill. It's a variety of skills and coping mechanisms to bounce back from bumps in the road as well as failures. And you should focus on emphasizing the positive. Gene is a national journalist and done a lot of work in writing about this topic. And then maybe a little relationship for some of you, but here's a therapist talking to his client. He says, you devote 50% of your energy to your career and 50% of your time to your children and 50% to your marriage. I think I see the problem here. I got into therapy because I don't do math, but that's actually over 100% for those of you who are counting on your fingers. All right, let's talk about compassion fatigue a little bit. Some of you may know this really well, or at least know the concept, but I wanted to give you just a little bit of working definition because I think it's really, really applicable to what all of you do. Compassion fatigue refers to the physical, emotional, and spiritual fatigue or exhaustion that takes over a person and causes decline in his or her ability to experience joy. So this idea that you give out so much that that you're not able to experience any joy for yourself. This is really important for the work that you all do. You put out a tremendous amount of energy for other people, and it can take its toll. What we know about compassion fatigue, professionals working with survivors of trauma, I'll pause there. That's everyone on your caseload. Report changes in how they see the world. For example, the world is not just or fair or safe. I think you can get to that place where you start to really skew your worldview and see the world through the lens of your trauma surviving offenders and realize, yeah, the world sucks. It really does suck at times. Professionals, this is to you directly, professionals with previous trauma histories show significantly higher secondary trauma symptoms from those with no trauma history. So those of you who have some trauma history, you're more likely to experience secondary trauma as a result of what you do. Another definition here for you, compassion fatigue is a one-way street in which individuals are giving out a great deal of energy and compassion to others, but can't get enough personal support to reassure themselves that the world's a hopeful place. So this idea of putting out so much, the last one says the same thing, consistent outputting of compassion and caring over time that leads you to feeling of total exhaustion. Like I give everything to my caseload, I give everything to my family, I give everything to the other things that I do in my life to the point where I don't have anything left. I think this is really important to be aware of. I think Jennifer said, when I leave work, I leave it and I'm done. That's part of battling this idea of compassion fatigue. I can give everything I can while I'm at work, but then I got to be done. I have to shut it off. Hard to do though, because I know that the people you work with, they're real people. They have real lives. They have real stuff going on, and it's hard not to carry some of that. Same thing here with burnout. It's a special type of work-related stress, state of physical or emotional exhaustion, which potentially could come from compassion fatigue, that it also involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and loss of personal identity. So this idea that I've done so much work, I'm not even sure who I am anymore. I just work and work and work, but I've lost the sense of who I am. So ask yourself some questions. And these are kind of signs and symptoms of burnout. Have you become cynical or critical at work? For me, sometimes, yeah, totally. Have trouble getting started at work in the mornings, have to become irritable or impatient with coworkers and customers, find it hard to concentrate. Do you lack satisfaction from your achievements, and do you feel disillusioned about your job? That's not to say that doesn't happen, but is it happening all the time? You know, if you're starting to experience answers yes to these questions, I might be experiencing some burnout. And then obviously some causes around that, which are true in your line of work. You're not in control of everything. You don't make all the decisions, and that's a cause of burnout. The expectations of your job are unclear. You have dysfunctional workplace dynamics. By the nature of what you do, your workplace does have some dysfunctionality to it. It's just part of what you do. Extremes of activity, lack of social support, and an imbalance between work and life. So the idea of the inability of being able to turn it off and on when you go. And can you take a vacation once in a while or enjoy your weekends? The lack of that leads us towards burnout. That's the last thing I have. We're just about to time. I think we've got a few minutes at the end here, but I just want to say that I appreciate what you do. I don't think probably people tell you often enough, but you make a difference in people's lives. I know that. I see it in the cases. And take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Thanks, everybody. Any questions in the chat, Sandy, or anything? Anybody has questions for me?
Nothing in the chat other than a thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you got a couple little pieces you can take away, even if there's one or two there that can just help center you and get you back to some hopeful stuff. We'll be better off. You'll do better work.
Last chance for any questions, anyone? Or we let Ryan go?
All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Go out and do good things.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you everybody for attending. Don't forget to send those post rosters over my way. If you, probably everybody has my email. I'll put it in the chat really quick. And I will get those over to Ada County to enter. And again, let me know or let Carrie know if you have any ideas for other topics you'd like to see us host. And other than that, take care and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Ryan.